scalability of that power source, it is likely not to be the panacea. It's not going to be the only answer. All of the above, and truly all of the above, clearly is going to be the only answer to meet our requirements. And so, clearly, that's the direction we need to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. So our next panelist today will be Paula A. Gantz. She's Senior Vice President of Policy and Planning for the American Gas Association. Paula.
Thank you for having me here today. Governor, thanks for bringing this group together. It's really exciting to be here in the South. I'm from South Louisiana, and I was able to address a similar group, much smaller, in my hometown, in my home parish recently, carrying a similar message. Really great news for the country, and particularly for the Gulf Coast region, as a result of the tremendous abundance of natural gas that we're seeing come to market in this country. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that, and the new paradigm that we see as we look forward in planning for our energy future. And just quickly, as an introduction, I work for the American Gas Association, and we represent natural gas utilities across the country. Your local utilities that deliver natural gas to your homes and businesses here in Mississippi are Atmos Energy and CenterPoint Energy. And companies like them across the country are the ones that I work with as we think about how we can capitalize on a tremendously abundant natural gas resource, make sure that it works for your homes or businesses for decades to come, making sure you have access to it, and that it's delivered to your home safely, reliably, responsibly, and at great value to you. So the great news is, as I know people talked about a little bit this morning in these sessions, actually, it's great to hear all this talk about natural gas, is that we have a tremendous abundance of natural gas in this country. We have, let's see, is it the forward arrow? There we go. I guess just to start really quickly, we have a tremendous abundance of natural gas, and we know how to use it. It touches every sector of this economy, from homes and businesses to industry, manufacturing, and power generation. Which way am I supposed to point this? There we go. And thanks to good American ingenuity and perseverance, as a result of combining hydraulic fracturing and horizontal drilling technologies in recent years, we've become incredibly efficient and effective at getting natural gas out of the ground, particularly in unconventional plays like natural gas shale. And we knew the gas was there, we just didn't know that we could get it to market in an economic fashion. And the great news is that now we can. And we've seen an incredible increase in our domestic resource base. These are estimates, this illustrates estimates by the Energy Information Administration and the Potential Gas Committee of the United States, that many estimate that we have now at least 100 years of resource base to meet the current demand. So we have plenty of room to grow as well, as people keep finding new ways to bring this resource to market. And just as an estimate, over the past 5 years, we've increased the production of natural gas in this country by 27%. That's an incredible American success story. And this is translating into real value for American customers and real opportunity for U.S. businesses. It's a tremendous economic development story. So that tremendously abundant resource comes to U.S. markets along transmission pipelines and your local delivery systems, and that is what's creating a tremendous market dynamic that we're seeing. This slide illustrates the natural gas price trend for 2000. I guess I can see it. You can barely see it with the podium here. For 2011 and 2012, and the gray in the background juxtaposes that over the previous 5-year range. And so what we see overall is tremendously lower price levels and tremendously stable price levels. And we expect this to continue into the future. What this means for our economy, if I can figure out how to use this clicker, is tremendous value. It means dollars in the pockets of American homes and businesses. This slide illustrates the cost savings for residential natural gas customers relative to other fuels in 2010. It's a tremendous value, and since 2008, we've seen natural gas customers save $250 billion. That's dollars in the pockets of homeowners and U.S. businesses to reinvest and spend in other ways. So, tremendous value. We see this value proposition continuing going forward. We see a natural gas market that's characterized by relatively affordable prices and relatively stable prices through the next decade. And that's something that is new for natural gas market fundamentals. As I like to say, this is not my granddaddy's natural gas market. And I think it's important that we all think about the fundamentals that underlie the market going forward, because looking in the rearview mirror doesn't tell us a lot about where we're going. As a result of this really favorable price outlook, where some are seeing a price fairway in the $4.50 to $6 range as we approach the end of the decade, American businesses are making very significant and long-term investments that signal a revitalization of our economy and a return to domestic manufacturing, as well as increased value, continued increased value for American homes and businesses. One of the things that I want to talk to you about, or I want to talk to you about a couple of things that we think are important to deliver on the promise of natural gas for this country. First and foremost, we think that the resource should be developed responsibly with consideration for local communities and the environment. We think it largely is. And just like any other industrial process, as Mr. Vanny mentioned this morning, there are risks. And we should do everything we can to mitigate those risks, and we should do what we can to enforce appropriate regulations. But we don't think that's a moonshot. We think by and large natural gas is being developed very responsibly, and we expect that to continue. And just like we do with every other industrial process, we'll get better at doing that, we'll become more efficient, and we'll find even more effective ways to get natural gas out of the ground. Now getting out of ground, I think I must have skipped way ahead. Sorry about this. Is there someone can send it back to the map? Thank you. So getting gas out of the ground is the first part. Then you need to get gas to natural gas to your markets, to your homes and businesses. And that's where our members come in. They have developed 2.5 million miles of pipeline infrastructure across this country. When we talk to people from other countries that are, as was noted earlier, looking to develop their natural gas resource, they are stunned. This is a particularly American phenomenon, that we've been able to put this much infrastructure in the ground, that we've done it with very supportive regulatory environments and very strong access to capital. And you have quite a lot of this in Mississippi. So it's a very strong underpinning for your continued economic development. It's very important that we think about maintaining investment in this infrastructure. And one of the things that we have our attention focused on is strategic litigation that's seeking to halt infrastructure production across the country. We think that there are forces at work at local levels who would just basically like to see no infrastructure developed, and that would keep natural gas in the ground. We don't think that's good for the country, and we don't think that's good for Mississippi, so that's something that we're watching very closely. In addition, as we think about how moving all of this natural gas to market, we need to think about how we're using it. And it will have, no doubt, a tremendous role in powering large-scale power generation facilities. But we also need to think about how we can use it, in addition to that, at the local level, in some instances, a more efficient fashion, whether it's space heating for your homes and businesses, or it's local microgrids using fuel cells, or combined heat and power in your industrial manufacturing sector. And this is real energy to be saved, and then real dollars to be saved. What this chart illustrates is the primary energy that will be needed to meet residential energy needs out to 2030. The red swath on top is the primary energy that we will waste in converting primary energy into electricity and large-scale power generation and high-voltage transmission lines. So the red is just waste. And one of the ways that we can get at that waste is by modernizing our electric grid, as was noted earlier. and making it more efficient. But we can also look at ways to produce energy closer to the point of use through combined heat and power in industrial manufacturing facilities and fuel cells for local communities, as well as the here and now solution presented by natural gas, space, and water heating. Apologies. Could you move to the market fundamentals slide for me, please? There we go. Finally, I'd like to talk about the tremendous opportunity presented by natural gas to help us increase our energy security as we transition to an alternative fuels portfolio in the transportation sector. One of the things that makes it possible for us to think about this is not only do we have this abundant fuel, but we see a de-linking of natural gas and oil prices for the first time, really. And it's something that no one expects to reverse. And so this illustrates the tremendous price value for natural gas relative to petroleum. And what we're seeing is people thinking about natural gas as a way to meet their transportation needs in really significant ways. Governor Bryant, along with other governors, have entered into an agreement to look at converting state fleets from gasoline to compressed natural gas. And there are in total 22 states that are working with the auto manufacturers to find ways to convert their fleets. And so in that way become sort of anchor customers for compressed natural gas so that then the fueling infrastructure will be built. As was mentioned earlier, this is going to take public and private partnership. There isn't a one-size-fits-all. There's not a magic fix with government policy, and individual companies aren't going to be able to do it on their own. But we're seeing that across the country, and particularly here in Mississippi with CenterPoint and Atmos and other companies like Clean Energy working with the state to find ways that work for you at the local level to get fueling infrastructure built. And as I understand, with the work that the governors are doing, there will be an announcement later this week on how they're going to move forward and which automaker they're going to be working with in converting the state fleet. So it's very exciting. We're very much looking forward to that. Thank you very much. And how this translates for our American consumers and our economy is that on average across the country, compressed natural gas is what you would use in light-duty vehicles or passenger cars is about 47% of what gasoline costs at the pump. So tremendous value. We expect that to continue because we see a continued delinking of oil and natural gas prices. So even if natural gas prices rise above where they are about $3, we still see tremendous value potential for natural gas customers, and we expect that to continue relative to gasoline. Too many slides here. I think we're running a little bit short on time, so I'd just like to really quickly hit on a focus that we've seen a lot of attention paid to in recent months on the ability for combined heat and power to really increase the competitiveness of our industrial and manufacturing sector. It's American technology combined to help American businesses capture waste heat and process it and turn it into usable energy. It uses American skilled labor. This isn't shoot-the-moon stuff. It's stuff we know how to do. And we're very excited about, because of these lower natural gas prices, this really delivers a tool to American businesses that can increase their competitiveness. And I know you'll see it increasingly rolled out here across Mississippi. So those are some of the ways that we see natural gas being used and that we're excited about. And we think that you should be excited about here in Mississippi because it means great things for your economy. And I'd be happy to answer questions later. We think this is a great new paradigm and we think it's transformational for the country. Thanks for your time.